Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not to Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about American Born Chinese Season 1, Episode 7. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, let's start off with things with Jamie, considering the episode opens with kind of this reunion live show. And one moment I saw one of his cast stars show up, I was like, wait, is that? And it's like, yeah, it's Nicole Sullivan. I was like, maybe she was in some of the episodes we saw the show Beyond Repair, but I just didn't remember. Once again, there's been a little space in between some of these episodes. But I was like, Nicole Sullivan's like, that's interesting to tie her into this because she is someone that is from like, I mean, she's been in a handful of sitcoms over the years, but also like, because obviously, I associate her being like a Mad TV alumni. So it almost feels like that was kind of on purpose too, because she is someone that does also come from that sitcom world as well. So it feels like very poetic to put. I'm curious, like some of those people, like are they people who have connections to sitcoms and stuff like that too? And I even love that the interviewer was Adam Ray. I was like, that's wild. If you don't know, he's an actor and stand-up comedian. But yeah, it becomes a conversation about like Jamie, and it's like, hey, are you forgetting something? They want him to put on a wig and everything, which is like, hey, that's fine, that's okay. It's part of like a signature thing from a character, but it's also the thing of like, right, you played such an amazing character, and then he was also like, it's such an iconic character, and it's like, yeah, do you know that basically your character's had a resurgence more recently because it's a meme online, which you're like, he's like, and Jamie's like, oh, I'm not really on the internet, so I don't know if is that a good thing? And it's like, not really, Yes and no. It can come with like, hey, people are just having fun with it, but the problem is like it just, once again, he has his complicated feelings about it, understandably, and I think that's, once again, I think it's such a beautiful situation, and it tackles so many conversations of, hey, this is what it's like for someone who's just trying to make it into business. Like this is like, hey, I couldn't really afford anything, and with this, I was able to afford like I think he's at like a double condo or something like that. Like he made a good chunk of change from that series, for the series he was on Beyond Repair. So it is that conversation about actors in general and kind of like the work not being what you wanted. You thought like the doors would be open to so many opportunities, but just not the opportunities you want. Like a lot of actors have felt that, especially actors from different backgrounds, whether it's like, hey, so do you hear so many actors talk about like, yeah, I'm getting offered like terrorist roles and stuff like that, like and now it's like, oh, what am I? And in Jamie's case, it's like, oh, because I'm Asian, like I get the nerdy guys, like I want it to be the hero in the story, and I don't have to be like some Batman or whatever, but I want to be on a hero's journey. Like that's the arc of any character. I want my character to have an arc of, this is my character's journey. Like you don't have to have superpowers to be a hero, and that was kind of his whole point, especially when he's looking like, right, that his appearance in the show is a situation where it's like used as a punchline, and it's just like the connotations that it has to it. And like I said, and I think that's that tightrope of you have to walk where you're like, yeah, I appreciate it. I made money off of it because there was not many roles out there back in the day for people who look like me. But now it's like, I never was able to get the roles I would want it because they were just going to, they were typecast me as this and that. It's like, well, you did this. They're not going to step to, it's like, it's a larger issue in the machine that is Hollywood. Another guy was like, oh yeah, like we've had that same thing too, and like Nicole Sullivan's character, I think he's talking about us, honey. But he was like, no, it's not against you guys necessarily, but it's just like the whole system is kind of built like that, and it hasn't presented me the opportunities I want. But that's why he wants to be able to go off and make his own thing, and he's just like, right. I hope that things have changed enough that there's some kid out there who wants to reach their dreams and see their dreams through, that they can be a hero, that they don't have to be anyone special, that because of I forged my path, and yes, it was kind of a bumpy road there because of this, but at the very least, I want those opportunities to be open for everyone else. And Adam Ray's character is like, right, I'd like to hope things that change, and Jamie's like, I hope they have, but that's still a conversation we're having nowadays, where it's still that thing of, that's all. I mean, we won't have to get into it, but it's that whole deeper conversation, especially like that conversation gets even more complicated and diluted in people's eyes because of the whole, like people being like, oh, this is a diversity shoved down your throat woke conversation, like that plays a role in it. But like I said, it's an important conversation to have on the side of like an actor. Like it's a threefold conversation of like plenty of actors can talk about like, right, not getting the roles that they were kind of hoping for, but then you add in the context of being a minority actor and certain roles only being offered to you. You're like, oh, you're only getting, oh, I'm getting the nerd, or I'm getting a ninja, or like, oh, I'm getting terrorist, or I'm getting gangbanger, whatever the case may be, like kind of being pigeonholed to like, you know, being typecast in a certain role and not being able to break out of that, getting these other opportunities that you would hope would. Because, you know, hey, I'm on this big successful show, but it didn't open the doors I was kind of hoping it would, you know? So I thought that was just kind of a really interesting conversation. Like I said, it's a relevant conversation. I mean, especially because this is set present day, and he's like, yeah, I hope those, and it is changing little by little, but it is still something that needs to be worked on. So I thought that was just kind of interesting. And especially like my biggest question was, well, how was this going to tie into the overarching story? Well, because one of the video clips they showed online was Jin's situation from like, what was that, episode 2, I believe? That situation of like his meme situation. It might have even been episode 1, whatever the case may be, that hey, it was played on live television. I mean, it was played on television and stuff. So it's like, Anushka was like, yo, look, bro, you're on TV. That was wild. Because Jin's not in a good space because it's like, right, everything that happened to Wei Chin last episode is like, cool, like, I need to help my dad. So I might have to hand over the fourth scroll, but I can't do that. But Jin's like, at the end of the day, it's your dad. And so they go to see Guan Yin, but she's like, I can't help you anymore. Like, I didn't tell you it was always going to work out, but I was going to help you follow your dream. But that, you know, and like any dream, they don't always work out, which is kind of an interesting parallel with the whole Jamie of it all to some extent. So it feels like there's kind of connected threads with the Wei Chin of it as well as Jin as well. But either way, he's saying like, right, because no one else can come back them up because they have their jobs in heaven protecting the Jade Emperor, especially in a time where Mo Wong has the staff and everything. And it turns out, so like I brought it up last episode, they went out of the way to not show the pendant. So I was like, oh, maybe it's going to end up, I think the pendant is going to be what I thought it was. It turns out the pendant got eaten by a dog, so it's like, no, getting that back. But the pendant's just a symbol of, it's the union between, and it might even be, and maybe the exact thing is Jin himself is the fourth scroll. That might be what it is, because it's like the unions of these families because it's very like, hey, our families have kind of had beef back in the day, and Jin's family comes together and they had him. So it makes sense that he himself is the fourth scroll, but maybe he hasn't found this peace in himself because of just everything in his life versus like who he wants to be, who he's trying to be, and everything going on with his family. There's kind of a lot of turmoil there. And so now he's also doubting himself because he's like, man, I wasn't a good guide to you because I didn't help you find the scroll, and Wei Chen's going to go back home. And it's like, right, I can't. I didn't do what I was supposed to. So he's already down on himself about that. Then there's everything at home where it's like his mom's like, yeah, I'm gonna go spend some time with my sister. It's like, is she sick or something? It's like, no, just go, and also make sure you do, garbage day. He's like, that's gonna be on Monday though. It's like, you said you want to go be gone a couple of days. It's like, are you and dad splitting up? And she's like, what? No, of course, but of course not. It's like, but they're having issues though. And he was just hoping, like, it's like he wasn't expecting things to kind of get to this point. It's not necessarily that they're going to get separated or they're going to get divorced, but it is that conversation about like, this is kind of getting more and more serious. And so he's kind of frustrated where it's just like, hey, everything's kind of coming together in other capacities in life where it's like, hey, the coach is like, so-and-so got like food poisoning, so you're going to be stepping up. The next game is going to be super important. Emilio's like, yo, like everyone's thinking we should do that bowling thing and kind of get together all together. And Jin's kind of frustrated with everything going on, and he kind of pushes the mascot. The principal calls him into the office. His parents get brought in. So now it is a situation of like, right, the principal is that thing of she's trying to be culturally sensitive, but by trying her best to be culturally sensitive, she's being insensitive. Because she's playing on a lot of stereotypes where she's kind of like, well, you are an Asian family, so I'm kind of assuming like, oh, is there some, any family situation when a kid acts out, you're like, okay, there might be something going on at home. It's like, well, there's also the aspect of like, well, it's a lot of things. It's not just what's going on at home. Jin's frustrated about that, just everything else that's going on, especially with everything with Wei Chen. And then you add in the fact is that but it's like, yeah, the principal's like, yeah, like, and, I know, for your culture. And so she's playing on the stereotype of like, well, Asian parents can be a little harsher on their kids. And the fact is you might be pushing him. But, it's like, right, I spend a lot of time, like, I give him like feeling, like I show him love, and yes, I'm a little tough on him, but I think there's a perfect balance. But she's like, no, I don't think there is. And then she breaks down this acronym called plot. It's like, right, we should kind of plan this out. But Jin's dad steps up where he was like, the fact of the matter is that you are making these assumptions about our family, about, you're treating Jin this way, you're treating us this way because he's different. We are a different family. So would you really kind of have these same comments about any other family that walked in here? It's like, no, specifically because we're Asian. So it's like I said, you're playing into certain stereotypes. And for him, it's like, my wife, yes, she might push my son a little bit, only because she believes in him that much and knows that he can take it. My wife, you will never find another mother more dedicated and hardworking than she is. And you can tell that means a lot to her, seeing that, like hearing him talk about her that way, especially where they are. I think it's especially when she says that line later on of like, it felt like for the first time her husband kind of believed in her and stood up for her, especially because, once again, I love his voice because he hasn't spoken up, and for him to speak up like that, she really appreciated it. He's also like, right, you want to get things right first, like our last name isn't Wang, it's Wong. And it's like, and she's like, this was good, this is great, I think this worked out. And it's like, I know she's secretly dying on the inside, not unless she's completely oblivious, but it feels like that's one of those moments of you put a smile on and try to pretend like everything's okay, but you're secretly crumbling and dying on the inside because of how awkward and how cringy that whole situation just was, and kind of being called out in that moment. But and that's also like in that same conversation is because Jin's mom hadn't talked to his dad about it, but it's like, wait, you're going to your, because it's like, oh, are you still going to Aunt so-and-so's? And it's like, Jin's dad looks up like, wait, what? You were going to go? Because he was completely unaware. But it seems like another reason why she was going to go was to get money. Because I guess she doesn't want to tap into their savings anymore, especially if he's considering to quit his job and stuff like that, which he hasn't. And, but it's also like, well, can I tell you're not too copacetic about me using the money regardless, even though it's like our money, but it's also because you don't believe in what I'm doing. But like I said, she appreciated him sticking up for what he said inside, and it's just kind of like, and she kind of breaks down crying afterwards, and he's like, why are you crying? And it's just a lot. Because from his perspective, it's like, right, you asked what happened to the men that you married. And for me, it's like, what happened to the woman I married? The woman who used to sing all the time, who would laugh at the top of her lungs. And for her, it's like, yeah, I became, like kind of like the housewife situation. It kind of got lost in the chores. And it's like, he's like, you're also the person who gave half our money to a herbalist. I thought that was going to be in reference of like, right, that's you, a good person trying to help out someone. But it's also like, yeah, but for her, it's like, because she believed in me and it felt good. And that kind of struck a chord with him, because it's like, right, you. And it's like, right, based on what he said, that Jin kind of showcases he doesn't believe in her. It's like, yeah, this thing she's doing is a risk, but you didn't like believe in her. And for her, it's like, because everything he had said about like, oh, the way she responds to Jin of like, hey, my wife may be like tough on Jin, but that's only because she believes in him and knows he can take that much. And it's like the same thing's applicable in his case. That's where he knows like, right, I know you only push me so far because you do believe in me so much. You want me to go for it. I know you want me to go for what you believe I deserve and what I can do and what I can take, but, it is that thing of like, it's so easier to kind of have that view when it comes to Jin and maybe not quite as much with yourself. And maybe he does view it and it's hard to kind of separate himself from it and just hard to kind of break out of his shell in that capacity. But like I said, it struck him when it's like, right, I know you believe in Jin, I know you kind of believe in me, but the fact is you don't feel like I believe in you, which made him probably start thinking, maybe I didn't. I never showed you that I believed in you. I even told Jin as much last episode. So I think that really struck a chord with him. So she's like, I'm just going to buy groceries. And I think he sees like, right, I have my own fault and my own part to play in all of this. So recognizing like he's got to work to try and mediate and fix things, and I think he is going to try and change it. I think this is going to be the kick in the butt he needs in his life, and it's definitely going to be interesting to see, especially because, like I said, just at that time before they went to see the principal, hearing all that stuff from his parents, and then you also hear hearing his dad speak up, because Jin has never been the type to speak up himself either, and obviously that's changed a little bit over the course of this series. But then you add in he saw that video from Jamie, and that really struck a chord with him, because that didn't just that silenced the entire audience and the mediator, the interviewer, that being Adam Ray's character. But you also like it did strike a chord. And even Wei Chin himself, I mean, obviously he didn't see the video, but for him it's like, right, might not have the fourth scroll, but I'm gonna help rescue my dad, even if I have to do it alone. Which I also love that Guan Yin, it's like, also, do you think anyone in heaven want that coffee table? You know what? Don't even answer that. I think it is that kind of wax on, wax off thing of like, right, I am helping you without you realizing it, because at the end of the day, this is your journey and I can't take these steps for you. This has to be a journey you have to fulfill on your own. I think it's secretly one of those things of like, I believe in you, but I can't, like, you gotta feel like you're on your own. Like everything will work out, because it's like, right, even Wei Chin is like, I think I'm gonna believe that everything's gonna work out. So he went to go rescue his father on his own. And we find out, it turns out the glass inside, because I couldn't like, I know he got hit, but we didn't really, maybe we saw it, but this episode it feels like it's a lot more prominent, the glass that's inside of him, and apparently it's going to go deeper and deeper, and as it does, it's going to start ripping his soul apart in the process. I guess that's how, like, you probably like kill one of those the type of deity beings that they are. You have to probably like destroy their soul to like kill them. But for Mo Wang, it's like, you don't get to tell me who I am anymore. You tried before to kind of turn me, like, ask me who I was and tell me, like, you were the one to be like, oh, this is who you are, when in actuality wanted me to be more like you. And it's just, once again, it is that thing of wisdom comes with age. I'm not the same person I was back then. And it's like, I wish I had handled things differently, even to the point he apologized, saying like, let me tell, I am sorry. But he's like, you have nothing to be sorry about. You showed me who I really am. It's like, to be fair, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be the person I am right now, which makes that cut even deeper, because it's like, this is my best friend and my brother. I turned him into the enemy that he is. Like, it's because of my mistakes, my hubris, my angst back then, when in my younger years. Once again, you have the wisdom of age. Like, we all get to that point where we look back on things and wish we had done things differently. So, but it's like, he wants it all. He wants to get the staff, and he wants the fourth scroll, and he wants to get his payback all at the same time. It's like, why aim for one when you can have it all? But just regardless of it all, Wei Chin shows up, and it's like, you don't have to pin it. The fourth scroll isn't even a thing. It's like, think about it. In the grand scheme of things, this is all happening because of you. And it's like, right. I wonder how proud your father would be for, all the trouble you've caused. But to be fair, it's not like he was the only one. But I think the argument could be like, Jigong was like, yeah, I'm down here looking for it, and I kind of gave up and just fully gave into my vice of drinking. So I think that's the difference of, like, it seems like he's the one that kind of convinced Mo Wang that it was here. But I guess Mo Wang kind of gave up all this time until Wei Chin made such a big fuss about it. And now it's something I guess everyone in heaven's talking about too. So it is a situation of like, well, you could join us or you can die with your father, But Jigong steps in because it's like, right, you got beef with Wukong. I get that, me too. But like, leave the kid out of this. He's an innocent bystander in all of this. Like, it's just a kid trying to help his father out in the grand scheme of things. But Mo Wang ends up destroying all the paintings. 'Cause I guess for Jigong, that's the only thing that kind of kept him going so long. Of like, yes, it's part of his vice, but it's also been part of what's kept him going. And it's like these paintings, they're so important because they are the only key towards the it's like, right, we got it wrong about the pendant, but maybe there's still some truth that can be pulled from it about the fourth scroll. Once again, it wasn't full off. Like I said, the pendant was just a physical manifestation of like the emotional connection. And like I said, I think Jin himself is going to be the fourth scroll, so that when his parents like unify and he kind of believes in himself and kind of steps in his role as a guide, like it was all meant to be. Wei Chin has been with the fourth scroll his entire time. Because I thought it was just simply going to be like, hey, the two families coming together, but I never thought about like, well, they already did come together, and that those two blood lineages are inside of Jin. again, he carries both of those lineages, and he's a representation of that. So it might not just, I mean, it might be a combination of, like, once again, his family, his parents coming together and being okay, and he himself. But I think he himself is going to be the fourth scroll, and he's going to end up displaying some fourth scroll powers. I think he's going to be the deciding factor in all of this. But Wukong made sure to try and send Wei Chen away, and Jigong is trying to get him out of there. Left him some beads. I don't know what those are going to do, but it's like, it seems like Mu Wong might have killed Wukong, but we don't know. Like, obviously that happened off screen. Probably not, because regardless of it all, it's probably a thing of, hey, you're my best friend, and even with it all, even with our issues, I can't kill you. Not like Guan Yin stepped in, even though she said she wasn't going to. We'll see how this all plays out. I don't know if the next episode is going to be like the finale or just the season finale. I'm assuming the finale, because once again, I know this is all based on one graphic novel, so it feels like this might be telling all of that story. Like I said, it just depends on how next episode plays out, whether or not there's room for more story. And even if it is like based on this graphic novel, it could still be a thing of there could still be more story you tell after the fact, even though it's a full adaptation of, we've seen certain elements of that where like a story, an adaptation will go further than the story did in some capacities. But like what I've seen online, just having not looked into it too deeply at this time, it seemed like it was a one and done, but we'll have to wait and see how everything plays out in the next episode, how this all comes to potentially a full conclusion or maybe just a seasonal conclusion. We'll ultimately have to wait and see, but I'm very excited to see where all of this ends up taking us going forward. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.